Yeah, yeah. Let's get back to this paragraph here. Reish Chof Ches, second column, second paragraph. Omna asiba goremes hakilkul hagodol hazehu hasheker betchilo. He says it's founded the falsehood initially. Yolid so fa'ivus al kokolo. It causes, it creates the perversion and the damage. Zeki mitchilo maschilo lefalpel divrei havoi b'halocha. They begin being mefalpel divrei havoi b'halocha, baseless dialogue within halacha. Asher yodim kipiem lokein yudaber. Magalim ponim bator shlokein v'yomer l'chadudi b'ino. They said what we want to do is to sharpen our minds. They're only using the material l'chadude to sharpen their minds. V'afki dover kozeh hashom lo tei b'yisrael l'chadude b'divrei sheker l'valus asman b'sheker. V'atorah hi Torah emes. The Torah is not an object to sharpen your mind. It's not a means, it's an end. Ech yala das odom kozeh. How could you even consider using Torah as a means? Harei roi shi yikareya odom levovo al zeh. Lafo che'emes al shek v'yom l'chadude b'imo. They say it's irrelevant what we say is true, the concept. The most important thing is it's the process. It's the process, the pilpul. That's the dialogue, the intellectual dialogue. Yosim zeh ki aftiv rei meinum klal. Shim hoya pilpul shu pilpul havoy v'shekim izdam al pilpul emesis. At least if they enter into this intellectual dialogue, it had a semblance of a true dialogue. Ultimately, having intellectual dialogue, although it's concepts which are not correct, at least it may lead to something which is coming to it. The questions are not a valid question, and the answers are not valid answers. Adra, that's no same heber zeshu metapish lo yachim. I'll give you an example. The Gemara says that a dayan or a Rebbe teacher who has a Talmud she'eino hogun, not in midos, in approach, he himself becomes corrupted. You know, sometimes certain questions have no answers because the person asking the question is coming from such a vantage point, he's totally off. A valid question leads you to on the direction of coming upon truth, if it's a valid evaluation, a valid point, asking the question in terms of analyzing something. What about it's totally off? Has no relevance to the whole discussion. And you try to answer that question, so you're going to a level that you're missing the whole point. So the teacher's mind is actually becoming perverted by the student asking the question. Certain questions you have to just dismiss the question. The question is not a question. But why? Okay, we're not discussing it right now. Let's go further. The Gemara says you're in violation of Dvar Shekatirchok. The teacher or the dayan who gets involved with this kind of dialogue, he's in violation of Dvar Shekatirchok, because ultimately his mind is going to function within the context of Sheker. He has no relevance to come to truth. You know, you ask a valid question, the first attempt, you try to answer the question. It's not a right answer, fine. But at least you're working your way to truth. So that's what he's saying over here. Since the question was never a question, because the whole discussion initially is founded on something which has no relevance to the subject matter. As a result of that, you're never going to come to emes. So he says, at least if the pilpul would have be valid in terms of the question, even though initially the answer may not be correct, but at least has some relevance to going in the direction to come upon truth. But this discussion has no relevance. He says, we see this factually, but you have to have appreciation. In Yiddish, there's an expression, klotzkasha. You know what a klotzkasha is? Okay? Yeah, klotz is a piece of wood. You know, years ago, if a person wasn't too bright, he asked kind of question, he said, I smell wood burning. I used to say this. You know, there used to be a person that was a puppet. His name was Knucklehead. You know, he had a wooden head, Knucklehead. So he used to, a person who was thick as molasses, they called him Knucklehead. You know, it's a klotzkasha. He asks a question like you have a piece of wood, you can't penetrate it. That's the way you couldn't penetrate this person's skull. Same idea, you know. V'miyom ha'sof hu chidud af ki eine domen lapiltu shalemes. He says, maybe you'll say, even though factually we're sharpening our minds because it's a level of analysis, so therefore we are sharpening our minds, although it has no relevance to truth, but the exercise, the intellectual exercise may have value. He says, "Mkein yosi ish l'lomod umnus nagrus." So why do you use the Torah, the subject matter, to be the basis for the intellectual dialogue? Speak about carpentry or cabinet making, right? Ushar umnis oscho kayodua shebo chidur hachochma v'tachvula v'chadir atzma gamkin bozeh. You know, be witty. You know, comedy. You should discuss comedy. You know, come up with different things, witty things within comedy. What are you using Torah as the basis for what to sharpen your mind? It's not a grindstone. Zah Yosef roid mashigala ponim b'Torah shelo kalocho. V'hora omol v'yolet sheker. He gives birth to omol, and the actual, what it gives birth to is falsehood. Ki kasher odom margel atzmi sheker k'mo shu dover hazeh shu yodea mechavin l'sheker kol masav nimshoch mechar sheker u'meshaker u'b'masim gamkein k'urgel ha'sheker al sfoso. He says a person who entertains falsehood in intellectualism, ultimately he'll be drawn in after it. Because if a person truly recognizes falsehood, you don't want to go near it. So, but if you say it's okay, if something is not accurate, it's also okay. That becomes the person's mind. You don't recognize the wrong of falsehood. As long as it has some value, you go for it. So it's interesting. The Ramban, the Fikuchi Ramban, that he debated the Franciscan order in front of the Spanish king, and he gave him a guarantee that it will protect him, because he was concerned that he'd be killed. You know, they would kill him if he refutes the basis for Christianity. And he debated. What was his name? Yeah. And so after he had to flee, he fled for his life. That's when he went there to solve the Ramban. But again, he went. There was such obvious flaws in Christianity. Obvious. He tore them to shreds. So where are they coming from? Where are they coming from? Look, we got an objective. You know, the most obvious question is, it says when Mashiach comes, it's lo yiso goyel goyel milchama, right? One nation will not rise against the other to do war. The swords were made into plowshares. So the thing he asked him was, he says he didn't help. He was crucified. He was killed. So if he couldn't help others, he's going to redeem others. That was the first salvo that he shot. So they answered, well, that's the first. They had to answer it. That's the first coming. There's going to be a second coming. How much do you want to delude yourself? He had multiple refutations. The question: do you want truth, or are you convinced? He is. So whatever we have to say to secure that, it is. Why? Is it truth or is it not truth? Right? So it's the same idea. A person who gauges his mind and conditions his mind that sheker is okay, and it has value, at least intellectually speaking, to sharpen your mind. But why? You know, it's like a person wants to build a building and he uses the most putrid, smelling material where you're going to reek from it for the rest of your life. You don't go near it. Well, but you realize it's going through the motion, but you don't want to go near that. So if a person recognizes what sheker is, you don't use that as a basis to sharpen your intellectualism. Because ultimately you become tainted with that. Once you become tainted, everything becomes sheker. Sheker is okay, you could live with sheker. To be continued. Morris said because he read Greek. No.